I'm Murat Tarakci. I'm an associate professor at Rotterdam School of Management.
I'm Caroline Fry. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. We're very happy to present our research on collaborations in disruptive times.
Caroline and I will share a behavioral approach about collaborations during disruptive times. In particular, we will show some lessons from the Ebola outbreak in 2014 and demonstrate some anecdotal evidence from the current COVID-19 pandemic. We live in a collaborative world. Many of the problems we try to solve are complex, with unknown solutions and intertwined technical and social elements. Since one person or one firm may not always have the answers, collaborating with others become an imperative. Collaboration refers to voluntarily helping other partners to achieve often common goals. They can take place among scientists, firms, laboratories, NGOs, regulatory bodies, you name it. The underlying premise is that combining complementary capabilities and resources among partners creates synergies across knowledge bases. Prior research has shown that collaborations actually yield more patents and new products. Therefore, it is no coincidence that United Nations 17th Sustainable Development Goal aims at forming partnerships for addressing grand challenges. What do we know about collaborations? An excellent recent review article reminds us that collaborations are in essence multi-level. To understand them better, we need to focus on individuals, organizations, as well as the institutional context that those collaborations operate. In fact, collaborations do not operate in a vacuum. They are both subjects and agents of change. We want to discuss how Black Swan events impact collaborations. Let's refresh our memories about one of these disruptive events, the Ebola outbreak in 2014. Without effective treatment options beyond supportive care, the disease killed up to 90% of those infected via severe hemorrhage. Let's refresh our memories.
Now the Ebola emergency here in America.
The killer virus.
Spreading much faster than efforts to contain it. Spiraling out of control.
Stop admitting West Africans into America right now.
Similar questions.
Can they go to the movies?
Hospitals aren't ready for Ebola.
All hell is about to break loose.
How did a disruptive event like the Ebola affected performance of collaborations? To understand this, we build on the behavioral theories that we have. In particular, we revisit the attention-based view. The attention-based view argues that the attention is limited and decision makers allocate their attention selectively. Issues with greater urgency, legitimacy, value, and opportunity receives priority over others. So what happened when the Ebola outbreak came out? We argue that in a recent paper we published, when a shock occurs, its effect depends on the domain. The domain that is directly affected by that shock increases its issue salience. As a result, the perceived benefits and normative pressures associated with that domain increases. Remember the WHO's calls for collaborations in Ebola to find a cure. WHO was not alone. Many governments, as well as celebrities and well-known businessmen, called many organizations to collaborate. As a result of these perceived benefits and normative pressures, organizations shift their resources from one domain to another domain. In addition, their incentives become aligned. Perhaps it's because of the perceived benefits or normative pressures. As a result, the partnerships innovation performance increases because drug development needs a lot of resources as well as dedication of both partners. We find in this study that while the innovation performance of Ebola partnerships formed after the outbreak rose By 11-fold, the performance of partnerships treating influenza fell by 84.9%. Our theory and findings have immediate implications for today's COVID-19 outbreak as well. We warn the world that the progress in other important areas is likely to stall. This was the organizational level focus on the Ebola outbreak. Caroline will now focus on the collaboration between scientists.
Okay. So I take the perspective of the individual scientist, and in particular, I'm interested in whether a shock like the Ebola outbreak and the current COVID outbreak can increase inequality amongst scientists as a consequence of collaboration formation. So I hypothesize in this study on the Ebola outbreak that a shock will increase the demand for collaborative relationships between high status and low status scientists. In this case, the low status scientists have access to a crucial input into the scientific process, and that is patients of Ebola. But I argue in this paper that only those low status West African scientists who are well positioned can take advantage of these collaborations due to search and coordination costs. So actually, I hypothesize that inequality amongst West African scientists will increase as a result of the outbreak. So I study this question through leveraging the geography of the epidemic, and specifically I compare scientific publication outcomes of West African scientists located in endemic countries to those of matched control scientists in non-endemic countries who are otherwise similar prior to the outbreak. And so what I find is that those West African scientists who are particularly well positioned, that is, they're already connected to high income country scientists, and they have some prior knowledge that enables them to research the Ebola epidemic, experience a huge increase in collaborations with high income country scientists and publication output after the epidemic. But as you can see from the figure on the right, I also find that those non-endemic country scientists, but also endemic country scientists who weren't as well positioned, experience a decline in collaboration and publication outcomes as a consequence of the epidemic. And the result of this is increasing inequality, both within endemic countries as a consequence of this demand for collaborations, but also between endemic and non-endemic countries.
We emphasize that collaborations are necessary to tackle today's grand challenges. At the same time, we want to warn about the spillover effects of external shocks and black swan events. In particular, we want to highlight that the collaborations has a behavioral angle as well. External events drive attention to what is urgent and immediate, but it shouldn't be at the expense of other equally important events. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Bye.